A quiet town, peaceful yet uneventful. Jack, the main character, walks along the familiar streets one chilly evening. Jack had always lived in Willow Springs, a town where nothing surprising ever seemed to happen. His days were predictable: wake up, go to work, come home. His life felt stuck, like a wheel spinning in place. But on this particular evening, something strange caught his eye. At the corner of Oak and Main stood a shop Jack had never noticed before. The shop seemed to glow softly in the dark, with an old wooden sign that read, "The Dream Merchant." Jack paused, curiosity bubbling inside him. He had walked this street countless times, yet he had never seen this shop. Pushing the door open, Jack entered. Inside, the air smelled of strange herbs and old books. The room was dimly lit, with shelves crammed with odd objects, jars of glowing liquids, strange trinkets, and dusty books. At the counter sat an old man, his face mostly hidden by shadows. "Welcome," said the man, his voice smooth and calming. "I sell dreams. Tell me, what is it you desire?" Inside the dimly lit shop, with candles flickering, Jack stands nervously as the old man speaks. Jack stared at the merchant, unsure what to say. "Dreams? You sell dreams?" he asked, confused. The man smiled slightly, his eyes gleaming. "Not the dreams you have while sleeping. I sell dreams that can come true. The things you long for most, your deepest desires. I can make them happen." Jack hesitated, but the thought intrigued him. "What's the catch?" he asked cautiously. The merchant shook his head. "No catch. You only pay after your dream comes true." Jack thought for a moment, then spoke. "I've always wanted to be an artist," he said quietly. He used to love painting, but over time, life got in the way. His dream faded, and he hadn't touched a brush in years. The merchant nodded and reached for a small vial filled with a shimmering liquid. "Drink this tonight," he said, handing it to Jack. "When you wake, your dream will begin to unfold." Jack took the vial, still unsure, but curiosity and hope pushed him forward. He thanked the merchant and left the shop, clutching the vial tightly in his hand. Jack's home. The morning sun filters through the windows as he wakes after drinking the vial. The next morning, Jack awoke feeling different. He couldn't explain it, but something inside him had changed. Sitting up in bed, he looked around his room. His eyes landed on an old easel, covered in dust, which had been untouched for years. Without thinking, Jack walked over, picked up a paintbrush, and began to paint. His hand moved effortlessly, as if guided by something beyond him. Colors blended perfectly, and shapes took form on the canvas with ease. By the time he stepped back to look at his work, he was amazed. It was a masterpiece, something he had never imagined himself capable of creating. News of Jack's talent spread quickly in the town. People admired his art, and galleries soon asked to display his work. Jack became a local celebrity, known for his stunning paintings. It seemed like everything was finally falling into place. But then the whispers began. Late at night, Jack started hearing faint voices, barely audible but unmistakable. At first, he thought it was just his imagination, but as the days passed, the whispers grew louder, and they seemed to come from the corners of his mind. A bustling art gallery where Jack's paintings are displayed. Jack stands among the crowd, but something feels off. Jack's success continued to grow, but the feeling of unease grew with it. One night, at a gallery showcasing his work, he felt a sudden chill. For a brief moment, everyone around him seemed distorted, like shadowy figures with blurred faces. His head spun, and the whispers returned, louder than before. Panicked, Jack left the gallery and rushed back to the mysterious shop. He had to confront the dream merchant. Pushing open the door, he stormed inside, his heart pounding in his chest. "What's happening to me?" Jack demanded. "You said there was no catch." The merchant, sitting calmly behind the counter, gave a small smile. "Every dream comes with a price, Jack. You wanted to be an artist, and you are. But now, the dream is starting to take its toll." Jack's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" The merchant leaned forward. "The whispers you hear, they're fragments of dreams I've collected over the years. The more you indulge in your dream, the more you become part of it. Eventually, your dream will consume you completely." Jack's home. The once beautiful paintings now take on darker, more twisted shapes. Jack feels trapped. Jack tried to continue his life as usual, But things only got worse. His paintings, once full of color and beauty, began to grow darker and more unsettling. The images on his canvas twisted into strange, nightmarish forms. The whispers were no longer faint, they filled his head day and night. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat. He couldn't escape the feeling that something terrible was closing in on him. In a state of desperation, Jack returned to the dream merchant once more, his eyes wild with fear. "Please," he begged, "I don't want this anymore. Take it back." But the merchant shook his head slowly. "You can't simply undo a dream, Jack. Once it has been brought to life, it takes on a power of its own." Jack's heart sank. "There must be something I can do." The shop, now darker and more menacing than before. Shadows danced across the walls. The merchant steadied Jack for a moment, then spoke. "There is one way out, but it will cost you." Jack's heart leapt. "I'll do anything," he said quickly. "I just want this to end." The merchant reached beneath the counter and pulled out a small black box. He placed it carefully in front of Jack. "Inside this box is a second dream," the merchant explained. "This dream will rewrite your fate, but be warned, it is not like the first. The cost is greater." Jack didn't care. He grabbed the box without hesitation and left the shop, determined to change his fate. Back at home, Jack sat on the edge of his bed, the black box in his hands. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside was a single, thin thread of gold. Jack tied the thread around his wrist, following the merchant's instructions, and lay down to sleep. That night, Jack's dreams were not like before. Instead of vibrant colors and inspiration, his dreams were filled with chaos. His world twisted and contorted around him. People he loved appeared in his dreams, but their faces were warped, monstrous. The whispers in his head were now screams. When Jack woke the next morning, everything felt different, darker. Over the next few days, Jack began to notice something strange. People no longer recognized him. Friends he had known for years would pass him by on the street without a glance. It was as if he had become invisible. His paintings were forgotten. No one spoke of his talent anymore, and his work was removed from the galleries. He rushed back to the spot where the dream merchant's shop had stood, but it was gone. There was no trace of it, as if it had never existed. Jack stood there, heartbroken, as the truth hit him. The price of his new dream had been his very existence. He had been erased, swallowed by the dream. In a distant town, another shop appeared, much like the one Jack had stumbled upon. A new sign read "The Dream Merchant." Inside, a new figure sat behind the counter, cloaked in shadows, waiting for the next customer to arrive. And so, the cycle continued.